An environmental advocate and public policy specialist, Dave Dempsey has been focused on Michigan's waters and the Great Lakes for over 30 years.
Hi, I'm Dave Dempsey, currently the Senior Advisor at FLOW, a nonprofit environmental group in Traverse City. Over the years, I've served on environmental policy in and outside of government, from the International Joint Commission and the Governor's Office in government to a number of nonprofit organizations such as the Michigan Environmental Council.
We asked Dave what natural resource changes he's seen over his career.
Wow, I've seen a lot of good and I've seen a lot of bad. Some of the good is rhetorical. Governors and interest groups, including business and industry, profess their love of the Great Lakes. I'm sometimes skeptical that they really possess it. The Great Lakes have become like the American flag. People are not going to say anything bad about the Great Lakes. There's been more coordination among the 8 Great Lakes states than there was back in the 80s. They tend to work together on these issues, knowing that the Great Lakes are one system. On the other hand, some of the biggest challenges to the Great Lakes are not being addressed very well. Climate change and its effect on everything from fish populations to water levels has not gotten enough attention, partly for partisan reasons. Some problems have turned out to be a lot more difficult than we thought when I was back in the governor's office in the 80s. We thought that we could clean up most of the contamination in Great Lakes harbors and bays by 2000, and most of them are still not cleaned up. It's 20 years later. I think people are more sensitive about their drinking water than they were then because of the Flint disaster and the PFAS that are showing up in people's water. So unless we address these politically tough issues, the Great Lakes will deteriorate, and that's my concern. One of the things that I wanted to do was to write a book where I inquired of friends and contacts and a few strangers about their thoughts on why, if so many people love the Great Lakes, why are they faltering? Why are they in trouble? What's the gap between that love and action? And I got some answers that were not surprising. People talked about the gap between their lives and government. They don't trust government, they don't get involved in government, and therefore, of course, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that things don't get better. Fewer surprises. One person I interviewed who lives in Ann Arbor said it's 40 miles from Lake Erie, and they don't think much about the Great Lakes. They're more focused on the Huron River, which runs through town. So people are sometimes overwhelmed by the size of the Great Lakes and tend to focus on their hometown water resource. One sociologist, scientist, hypothesized that people say they like the Great Lakes, but they're not particularly interested in changing their habits to protect them. She said it's kind of like asking people if they like to eat a lot of vegetables. People will say yes, but they don't really eat them. It's just they want to say the right thing. I think we need to develop more than we have a Great Lakes consciousness here in the region, where we think of ourselves as a quasi-nation of people that are 35 to 40 million strong in the U.S. and Canada that have this lake system that defines their lives and needs to be protected. Well, I tend to be positive. I think we're going to face and prevail over these Great Lakes challenges, but the reason I believe that is because I can't see any alternative. Our health and our quality of life are so dependent on the quality of the Great Lakes that I cannot see us letting them slip. There's so many people that grew up on the Great Lakes or use them now that love them and want to take care of them. What is lacking is politicians who are willing to take some risks for the Great Lakes and are more concerned about doing the right thing than they are about getting reelected.